I can't believe it. The Better Belly podcast has passed 300 episodes. So to celebrate this amazing milestone, I'm hosting our first ever triple win giveaway, where 3 lucky winners are going to get a full ride scholarship to our signature gut healing program, the Better Belly Blueprint, plus 3 months of free group coaching, a value of over $800. Here's how to enter. Step 1. Leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify by Thursday, March 19th at midnight and take a screenshot of it. If you've already left a review, share the podcast with a friend or on social media tagging us at Better Belly Therapies and take a screenshot of that instead. Step 2, submit your screenshot to betterbellytherapies.com/giveaway. And step 3, instantly get your participant gift, a coupon for $300 off the Better Belly Blueprint. Friday, March 20th, we will announce the 3 grand prize winners. So go to betterbellytherapies.com/giveaway and become a winner today. Do you ever feel like your emotions inside you are so big that you don't know how you'll ever have enough time to process them? Or do you feel like you get triggered at the sign of a single symptom worsening or a conversation or a thought, and it takes you hours or days to feel calm again? Or maybe you're living with chronic illness, chronic pain, or ongoing stress, and you're wondering how can you ever regulate your emotions when your body feels constantly at war or threatened inside itself? If you said yes to any of these questions, then this episode is for you. If you said yes to any of these questions, this episode is for you. Today's episode continues our series exploring the emotional weight of chronic illness, and it's a particularly special episode as we're going to be talking with the emotions experts, author, and founders of Connection Codes, Dr. Glenn and Phyllis Hill. Dr. Glenn and Phyllis are passionate about helping people discover that emotions aren't a problem to fix, but a powerful, natural tool you can master so that your home can be healed, your marriage strengthened, and communities transformed. As we continue with our chronic illness and mental health series, I've been sharing things that anchored me on my journey towards wholeness. And Dr. Glenn and Phyllis have actually been a part of my recent journey and something I've found so healing and empowering. So I'm sharing them with you. In today's episode, we're going to be diving into how to regulate your emotions in 4 minutes or less using real brain science, why processing emotions doesn't need to take hours, days, weeks, or years, symptoms of suppressing unprocessed emotions versus what it looks like when there is emotional regulation, what the 8 core emotions are and why being able to name them is so powerful in emotional regulation, and processing emotions with chronic illness, including things like stress, grief, and emotional healing. We'll talk about what emotional regulation really means, why controlling your emotions often backfires in the process of healing, and how you can make your emotions your friend on your journey of chronic illness and mental health. If you've been doing everything you know how to do and you're just still not better, I hope this episode meets you exactly where you are. Not to fix you, not to promise a groundbreaking breakthrough, but to strengthen your inner heart that illness, stress, and unprocessed emotions may have been quietly wearing down. Hey friend, welcome to the Better Belly podcast. If you're currently trying endless supplements, doctor visits, and diet changes to heal your mystery symptoms, you are in the right place. We're here to solve the real root causes behind your gut, hormone, skin, sleep, and brain concerns, literally anything and everything in your body. My name is Allison Jordan. I'm a functional medicine practitioner that has supported over 150 clients just like you to heal problems that no one has been able to fix. You don't need a perfect diet or a random supplement you found on Instagram to heal. You need a proven system that heals your whole body from the inside out. That's what I'm here to share with you, episode by episode. It's time to make health easy again. And just as a reminder, this information is not meant to diagnose, manage, or treat disease. Always consult with your own health practitioner before you make any changes to your health. All right, guys, welcome Dr. Glenn and Phyllis Hill. It's so good to see you guys again after I feel like, yeah, we just saw each other, 2 weeks ago, like 1.5 weeks ago. It's basically just been Thanksgiving. I'm so excited to have you guys here. And I was literally just telling you guys that my husband and I have been using everything that you guys taught us in that seminar every day, or like every other day. It's been so helpful. Wow. And so I'm so excited for you to share with our listeners this very deeply impacting information that is simple. It's like so simple and so doable. And it's honestly given me hope that balancing my nervous system and helping regulate my emotions doesn't have to be as complex and crazy as some people make it out to be. So Dr. Glenn and Phyllis Hill, thank you so much for being on the Better Belly podcast.
Yeah. Thank you. This is so much our joy, and love your podcast. Like, oh my word, every one of the topics are so rich, and I'm just like, oh, everyone needs this. We need to be talking about this. And it's really interesting. I was just with a dear friend this morning who has issues, right? Belly issues, and she's going the traditional route, of course, and she can't get answers. And so her doctor finally just threw up his hands and was like, I don't know what to tell you. Wow. And so she has to find a new doctor, and it's taking months to even get an appointment. And I just think, wow, we are really needing people like you, and just to be able to talk about this and actually really make a difference in people's life is so incredible. So it's definitely our joy to be here with you today. Yeah.
And I'll be on your guys' podcast if anybody from my audience wants to go stalk that. I mean, I highly recommend your guys' podcast. It is the Connection Codes. But before we get into all the ways that our listeners can connect with you further, can we just stop and talk about what are the Connection Codes? Why are we here today even chatting? And why do the Connection Codes matter?
Wow. Yeah, the Connection Codes grew out of our pain, at least the discovery of them. We celebrated our 43rd wedding anniversary this year, but we've probably been married about 12 years because we missed each other so badly for so long, not because we're stupid, not because we're dumber than the average bear. We just didn't know, and we didn't have the tools, and we were trying to build a house. We didn't have any nails, we didn't have a hammer, we didn't have any of the tools that you need to build something. And we didn't know that, and nobody told us that. We were both from large families, church backgrounds, and no one ever told us what we actually needed to build a relationship. And so we're on I don't want to say warpath, that sounds too violent, but we're on a mission now to change this. And we still today in our private practice will sit with a newly married couple who have no tools. And I'm thinking, wait, that for the last 43 years, we haven't made any progress in this, because we act societally as like, okay, now we're up to speed, but we're still not teaching people practically how to live life. Any two people that live in close proximity are going to bump into each other, just by definition. But now Phyllis and I know what to do, and we're not any smarter than we were 20 years ago. We just have the tools now. So the Connection Codes are the toolbox. The Connection Codes are the guide to human connection. We were born this way, and this is part of what I love about the Connection Codes. This is innate. We just forgot. It's the language of our birth, and we forgot it. So we're not actually trying to teach people the Connection Codes. We're trying to reteach them. We don't want them to learn it. We want them to relearn it, because we're actually designed this way, which for me is the brilliance. I'm faith-based. I believe of the design of a God designer, that we actually do this automatically when we're little, and then we forget how because of 1,000, variables and ingredients. So we're just trying to remind people of their original coding and get them back to that so that they're able to connect deeply, because we all need that. We all want it. We just get lost in how to do it.
Well, like Glenn mentioned, it started with his marriage and family therapy degree and private practice, and then he got his doctorate. But it opened the door. So first it was just about marriage. It was just about our connection and how do you find each other? How do you stay connected in marriage? But then it kind of opened the door to the idea that so many of us are not even connected with ourselves. We don't know how. We don't know how to tune into ourselves. We've, for many years, have pushed away, ignored, suppressed what is happening with us. And so we have found that this work actually starts with yourself through self discovery and connection and tuning in. Then it opens a really huge barn door to connect with your spouse, your family, your friends, your community. And it has just changed everything. And then, we kind of go down the road of even meeting people like you and realizing, oh my word, all these things affect our health in a really big way. And so it's just exciting that the thing we discovered actually is way bigger than marriage.
And I'm actually really glad you mentioned that, because I wanted to make sure that as people are listening, I have lots of listeners who are married, lots of clients who are married. It's just a common stage of life for people to be in when they work with me. But I actually, when I think of what you guys are doing for people who are struggling with physical illness, I think about it from for primarily, or first and foremost, a just personal awareness. Just how do I relate and connect with myself when I'm in pain a lot, or when I have all these things that, when it feels like for a lot of my clients, it can feel like their health is like their own job. It's like they have all these things they're having to think about. Is this what's causing it? This one's causing it. And online, people are shouting at you about like nervous system regulation and somatic exercises. I get overwhelmed. It's not my area of expertise. And I feel like I'm probably such a bad person because I'm so, like, I get counseling and stuff, but I don't feel like I've really got it or really understand it when it comes to, I don't know, regulating my nervous system. And a lot of my clients will say, well, I probably just need to, I know I've got a lot of trauma on this, or I need to just like do some nervous system exercises. But when I came to your guys' seminar, I thought, oh my goodness, this makes it achievable. And actually I feel calmer. Like, I don't feel like there's all these somatic exercises and stuff I have to be doing to even have a chance to regulate my nervous system and heal. And what you guys are teaching is like, oh, that wasn't so bad. So could you actually introduce to us what does it mean to use the connection codes practically? What is it like? Or maybe even Phil or Glenn, I don't know if you were planning on sharing this, but I particularly loved when you shared about all the regions of the brain and how these emotions even connect to that. So I'd love to launch into that part if you guys could just take us off.
Yeah. Well, and let me just say from a macro view, early on in the research that eventually led to us discovering the connection codes, I thought, what is the human condition? Because I am 100% in favor of Allison or whoever learning everything you can. Learn your whole life. Be a learner. That's awesome. But we don't teach a 1-year-old their Enneagram number. We don't teach an 18-month-old their personality profile. That doesn't make sense. That's silly to say to a 2-year-old, you need to go learn this stuff and then you'll be able to connect with
Go do box breathing. Let's try some box breathing.
Yeah, and again, those are not bad things. I'm not against them. But what would an 18-month-old do? What would a 12-month-old do automatically? Not because they decided to, it wasn't a New Year's resolution. What do they do automatically? Well, that's how we're coded. That's how we're hardwired. And little ones, we have 12 grandchildren, 2 of them, 2 little boys that are just turned 2 years old each, they're cousins. And I watch them and I'm like, they know how to do this. They know how to process through what's happening for them. We call it the first time, every time, anytime, all the time. They never wait. They don't set up an appointment with their parents for Friday afternoon at 3. And that's what we do in our society as adults is we're like, oh, well, I'm going to schedule a session with my therapist Friday afternoon. Well, I'm a therapist, so that's my vocation. So I'm not totally against it. But that's not really the human condition. If I have a struggle personally with Phyllis, whatever, at Tuesday afternoon at 2, that's when I'm supposed to process through that. Not Friday afternoon at 3. That doesn't make any sense. And we would never tell a 1-year-old that. We would never tell a 2-year-old that, hey, you're just going to have to set an appointment. So it doesn't make sense. So I was constantly looking at what is the human condition? Not against, I'm certified in a vast array of different modalities, but what is the human condition? Because I want Allison to be able to do that this afternoon. I don't want her to have to go get a master's degree in it before she can implement it. I mean, you're a brilliant person. You could get a master's degree in anything you wanted to. But most people,
I'd like it. I like it to work sooner. I don't want to have to wait that long.
exactly. And again, that's what we have done is we've told people, well, this is just going to take years. I sat with a woman recently. She's been in trauma therapy for 24 years. And she said she feels like she might be making some progress. Now, 24 years, that's a lot of time and a lot of money. So I want to get something to people that they can use this afternoon and they can feel the effect of today, because that's the human condition. That's what we all want. That's what we all need. So that, and it played in beautifully for us because Phyllis was running her company at the time. She was very, very busy. And she said, I don't have time to sit down and read a 350-page book or research project or anything. And she would actually say to me, I have 2 minutes. So give me something in 2 minutes.
Bless you, Phyllis.
Seriously, because academic, I love reading. Most people don't have time or the interest in doing that. They need something simple. And again, our 12-month-old, it's very simple. They process through what's happening for them in the moment. They convey the emotion, they convey the need, and hopefully they get that need met.
A big turning point for us was about 20 years into our marriage, and we were having an interaction that we'd had hundreds of times, maybe thousands of times, where I would say something like, thank you for unloading the dishwasher. And Glenn would react in a way like I had just stabbed him. And he would say things like, well, it's not like the only thing I've done today. And it was so hard for me to understand what in the world was happening for him. But again, his response was so snarky. And I would go, well, I didn't say that was the only thing you've done today. I'm just saying, thank you for unloading the dishwasher. And most people say, you're welcome. And then he would say something else snarky back. And, so of course you can just spiral into conflict right there. And we did that over and over. And this particular time, 20 years in, I said, thank you for unloading the dishwasher. I was in the kitchen. And he said again, well, it's not like the only thing I've done today. And I just turned away like, oh, I'm not even going to respond to that. That's so ridiculous. And then something inside of me just had that moment of curiosity. And out of that curiosity, I turned back towards him and I said, what do you hear me say when I say, thank you for unloading the dishwasher? And at first he said something snarky.
I said, I hear you say what you said. And I didn't use the B word, but I thought it in my head. It was like, I said that out loud.
Turn away.
Which she could have. She could have just rolled her eyes, walked out of the room, and been like, oh, it's ridiculous.
So I stayed with it, with the curiosity, and I said, what happens for you when I say, thank you for unloading the dishwasher? And for the first time in 20 years, and I believe he connected with himself with the question I asked, and he told me what was his experience. And it was so mind-blowing to me because it was so far from anything I could have thought of, dreamed of, imagined. And it was such a huge moment for us because I understood that the words, thank you for unloading the dishwasher, were so wounding for him, so painful. It was a judgment. And that's how he experienced it. And it wasn't that I was doing something wrong or that I was bad. That was just his experience. And that moment, it changed so much because out of that curiosity, I began to become more and more curious. And he began to get more and more curious about what happens for him in certain moments with certain things. And it was just amazing because what normally would have been a disconnector and a fight that could last days, it actually really connected us. And I saw into his brain, into his life. And that was a big turning point. And it was the beginning of me understanding we're just really different and we experience life really differently. And, fast forward a few years, where the emotion piece came in, which is the brain side, which is through him going back to school, having time to do all this research, that we realized that's a huge for us, big part. And I was the person who said, I don't do emotion. He has enough emotion for both of us. I don't do emotion. And I totally believed, honestly, that you can choose, you can opt out. And so he's doing all this research about what connects, what disconnects. And he was bringing home, the research, and I was running my company at the time. I'm like, I'm not going to read anything you've read. So give me the fastest. You got 2 minutes of my time. Give me the fastest. And he began giving it to me little by little. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me that I can't opt out, that all of us have a brain that houses emotion. What in the world? And then I began to realize, so all these years, at this point, I'm in my 50s, all these years, I've just stored, pushed down, ignored, suppressed my emotion. And then I'm, of course, not connecting emotionally with him at all, because I don't even do emotion. I do tasks. I'm a super task oriented person. And he was the opposite of that. And so we were not connecting through tasks. And then my even thank you for unloading the dishwasher's comments would cause so much wounding, but I didn't get the wound. I didn't understand that. And then through all the work of emotion, it's like I began to understand myself, because I did not know how to find those emotions. I kind of was raised to believe you choose joy. Joy is the one you go for. Joy is always right. Joy is the good one. Joy, joy, joy. And so for me, I was like, hey, just be happy. If you're happy, life's good. And it just doesn't, that's not what's firing in your brain all the time. And then when you have things happen to you, like for me, that particular year, my mom was dying of cancer, and she was just my best friend and just that precious person in my life. And I didn't know how to do sad. I couldn't quite fit the joy into that one. And I couldn't, I was really getting super dysregulated, which I did not understand what that was. And my body was shutting down because I was ignoring the sad. I was like, I'm not going to be sad. I'm not going to be sad. I was constantly saying, and I wasn't even crying. I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry. And it's like, what in the world? You got to let that out, or you're going to blow up. And I feel like I imploded on the inside of my body. And so things started to shut down, and I'd never had my body do that. And so then I'm like, okay, tell me again what you're talking about. Tell me about what you're learning. Tell me all this emotion stuff. Cause man, I am desperate to understand. And that's the brain part. Maybe you can share just how that brain relates to everything else.
Well, there are kind of two things happening simultaneously in my research. I started out basically with a blank sheet of paper, and I said, I want to watch and see what happens, for Fred and Wilma Flintstone. When does she turn away from him? When does she fold her arms? When does she literally turn her back to him? And I observed people for 2.5 years, thousands of interactions. And again, initially it was almost out of boredom, but I started getting it organized and began tallying, and it began seeing that, it's an emotional response. And we call it slicing it thinner. And I began slicing that thinner to say, hey, Wilma, what just happened right there? Right there, where you rolled your eyes, where you turned away from him, where you folded your arms. And usually Wilma would go, I don't know, he just pisses me off. I'm like, yeah, I get that. But what happened for you? And so then as I started seeing that, emotions is what disconnects people, which we now know emotions are what connect people also, but emotions is what disconnects people. So and it's unprocessed emotion. So then I started studying emotion and started discovering, which a lot of other people's research has built on this over the last half century, that emotions just fire in the brain. They're literally biochemical responses with some electrical stuff thrown in there too. So this is just the human condition. We don't choose to breathe oxygen. We don't get up each morning or every January 1st and decide what we're going to breathe. You just breathe oxygen. Every human on the planet does. That's the human condition. So then I started realizing that, oh my gosh, this is the human condition. Every human on the planet has 5 neural regions that fire emotions, that are the central command center. Emotion occurs throughout the body, but the central command center is in the limbic system. And that's true for everybody. And of course, as Phyllis had been saying for so many years, you don't get to opt out of that. She thought she could. And we've been taught that. And that's centuries old. That's not like a new teaching, the last few years. Way back, early church fathers' writings, talk about the evils of emotion. So this was all mind-boggling for me, certainly became mind-boggling for her, just big eye-openers, eyebrow raisers, where I'm just like, wait, what? I'm not choosing to feel hurt when she says, thanks for unloading the dishwasher. What the heck? And that was so fascinating to me that I just felt hurt because I felt insulted. I felt like she was making a big deal out of a small thing because I'm so pitiful. It's like, it's a miracle. Glenn did something useful. Phyllis was never wrong to say that, but Glenn was never wrong to feel hurt. Not trying to feel hurt. I just did. It's literally brain chemistry. The pain region of my brain activated. That was a big thing we learned, is that the brain doesn't distinguish physical pain from emotional pain. So every time she said that, it was like she kicked me in the shin, or she, jabbed me in the eye. And my brain experienced the same as physical pain. Well, she didn't know that. It's not her fault. She was involved in it, but it's not her fault. But that's what was happening for me. So after she had kicked me in the shin, stomped on my foot, punched me in the gut, poked me in the eye thousands of times, gee, I wonder what that's going to do to the relationship. And again, she didn't know. I sure didn't know. And then we began realizing that, I can just process that hurt. I can process that pain, which is what a 12-month-old does. They experience what they experience, and they can, well, you have kids, you know these things.
You saw it. My little 9-month-old, I was holding her, and I tried to pass her off to Dad while I was talking with you.
Yes.
And she immediately was like, and you're like, look, she masterclass. She's just showing you.
Appointment. She said, "Hey, Mom, I need to talk to you. Maybe tomorrow afternoon at 2:30, we could set up a time for me to talk to you about what happened." What? No. This 9-month-old was like, "Hey, something's happening for me here, Mom. Tune in to me. I have a need. The need is for you to hold me, not Dad to hold me right this minute." Yeah, that
and that can it can be a. Oh, sorry.
No, well, that's our whole mission is to teach that.
Yeah. And it can be a skill to delay, like to wise, like just be like, now's probably not the right time that I fall to pieces. But we don't want to delay that. We don't want that to be just like the only skill we use. Like, I'm just going to delay it all the time. Emotions are annoying, or as Phyllis probably was feeling, take too much time. So I would love to get to, how do we process emotions? What does that practically, tactically look like?
Well, it's what we call stunt double moments. I mean, if Allison is having a crappy day and she goes to a funeral, Allison, you need to tune into the family of the deceased. I mean, I get it. You had a crappy morning, but this is a moment to be present for them. So we call it stunt double. You need to stunt double this for the family's sake. But I don't want you living life that way. You can't do that 24/7. And just physiologically, for your audience, listeners, I'd love for them to even do the exercise where you make a fist and hold it for as hard as you can for 10 seconds. And then just keep holding it for a minute and 10 minutes and an hour and 6 hours and 3 days. Your arm muscles, and it would go all the way up to your shoulder, to your chest, would go berserk. You can't do that. We're not designed to do that. You can make a fist, if you need to punch something or whatever, you need to grab something, that's fine. You're not supposed to do that for 3 days. And
you were like, "Doctor, my arm hurts." He's like, "Well,
yeah.
Have you been holding that for 3 days?"
And then the doctor gives you a prescription and go, "Oh, okay, we'll just do a muscle relaxer." No. We got to stop Allison from squeezing her hand like this for 3 days. That's the cause. We're treating the symptom. And I get it. Maybe in the moment you need a painkiller. I don't know. I'm not fussing at anybody that's doing that. But we got to figure out the cause. What is happening for Allison that her whole right arm, her shoulder, and her chest are just inflamed. I mean,
Why are people needing regulation, nervous system regulation? And it feels like their nervous system gets thrown out by the slightest thing. And I say that as someone who feels like that has been my story.
Yep.
Like if between
That
Phyllis
was
and
me.
Glenn, I was Phyllis as a kid because of just training, but then counseling's like, this is actually who you are. And I'm actually much more of a Glenn. Like, imagine if Glenn, as an Enneagram 1, if that is helpful, I'm like, have all these emotions, but it's wrong to feel them. So you better believe I got good at putting them down mostly until they exploded. Yeah. And so it was, I had all these emotions I didn't know what to deal with. And I have clients who identify the same, like that the slightest thing throws their nervous system out of whack, and you're like, what's going on? And there can be a lot, but I think some of what you guys, go ahead. Yeah.
I interject there because it's what we call the emotional dam. The problem is people have such a massive emotional dam, and then the least little thing causes the dam to burst. Well, no. They have, pick a number, 6 weeks, 6 years of emotion dammed up. So then on a Thursday afternoon at 3:20, something happens and the dam bursts. And of course, the other people around them are going, what the heck?
We did not know that was happening. It's not even raining today.
They must have had a psychotic break. No, they have 6 years of things build up, which again was our story. I was so wounded by her so many times. So then on a Tuesday afternoon at 3:20, some little thing would happen. Then the dam would burst. And this poor girl was going, what happened? He's losing his mind because I said, thanks for unloading the dishwasher. No, I had woundings piled up from who knows what, years and years. And then the dam burst. And that's what made it so unmanageable because I didn't know how to process it the first time, which is what your 9-month-old does. The process is the first time. Just as soon as it happens, process it. Yeah. And that's the way we want to live. Again, there are stunt double moments, a wedding, a funeral. I get that. But as far as lifestyle goes, especially in our ongoing relationships, we need to be able to be our authentic, vulnerable selves all the time.
You know, I love talking about kids because it's such an easy example. Just like you were saying with your 9-month-old, you're trying to hand the baby off to her dad, not a stranger like her dad. And yet the immediate response is tears. And, you know, we often see situations like that with children and we want them to stop. Like we want to reassure them. We want to say, you're okay. You're okay. This is, you know, not a stranger, or, you know, mommy will be back in a minute, or we want, and it's like we miss the fact that whatever the emotion is that's firing in their brain, which in that moment, maybe sad, they're just getting it out. And it's like to almost reassure is just to like not validate that they're having an emotion, like to say, there's no reason for you to be sad. But yet their little bodies are experiencing sad. And it's kind of this idea we learn at a really young age that your body is expressing emotion. It just does. And yet at a young age, we begin to learn, maybe not till we're 2 or 3 or 4, but we begin to learn that when we feel something, someone else is there telling us, you're okay. You're okay. And you're okay is basically saying, stop feeling what you're feeling and stop expressing what you're.
It'd be like telling Glenn, you know, well, I didn't mean to, I'm not trying to hurt your feelings when he's feeling hurt about the dishwasher. That was really radical for me to listen to because I've heard about this. I've heard some people call it like radical neutrality of like hearing somebody else's emotions and you don't have to feel like it's your fault or that you did something bad. You don't have to judge it. You guys did a great job. And by the way, guys, we're like literally in an hour trying to cover the highlights of something that I was learning over like a 1.5 day period. So we're just getting into like, if you're enjoying this, there is even more. I mean, they've done a phenomenal, I don't know anyone who's done better in this stuff. And I've gotten it. I had to do DBT and CBT and my family has issues and I had issues growing up. And so literally the things I learned in this seminar was like, should have been taught this years ago. Like, this changes everything. So just say, guys, we're not going to get into everything, but yeah, the processing in the moment and being able to, like a child, be able to process things and not be mad. I've actually have even learned that I think you never said this, but I feel like there's something off. Like when my husband and I do the wheel, which I know we're going to get into because it's the actual, like, kind of practical, what you guys found of how to do this in kind of a concise way. How do we start to even just delve into looking at our emotions, especially if either they seem too big and terrifying to deal with, or like, you're like, what emotions, where? But what I found with my husband is that if I say I'm sorry when I'm listening to stuff, almost always that's the same thing. Even if I say it with the utmost sincerity, it creates a similar effect of you're okay. And I've learned I have to, like, I do think there's a proper moment when I just in my, like, body or heart feel like, okay, I think now is a good moment for I'm sorry. But up until that, it's more just holding space and just what you guys talk about with the oohing. But it's just like, I'm just going to listen in the fullness of whatever you're feeling. I'm not going to say, well, you're fine. Like what you guys said. I'm also not going to say, oh, I'm sorry. Like that made you stop hurting. Anyways, I've never heard you guys talk about that, but I'm curious if you'd be like, oh yeah, that's a thing.
Can I throw a wrench in that, Allison?
Oh no, sure. It's just an observation. Tell me I'm wrong.
Phyllis and I never apologize to each other, and we encourage people to never apologize. Because here's what the research showed: apologies rarely, and we did 3 columns: disconnect, neutral, and connect. And there was virtually never a check mark in the connect column. There are lots of neutrals and lots and lots of disconnects because apologies are so often used as a defense mechanism. And you literally see people go, I'm sorry. They literally put their hands up like,
yeah.
It becomes weaponized. It's like, listen, I've apologized like 10 times. What do you want? Blood? And now we're going, that apology didn't connect us at all. So what we encourage people to do, and you can do your own research. We encourage your listeners to do your own research. Don't apologize for anything for 30 days. And just convey what happens for you. So in other words, Phyllis comes to me and says, I felt really hurt by what you said earlier. And for me to go, oh, at first I'm going to help her process her hurt. And then for me to go, oh, wow, I feel a lot of guilt. I totally missed on that, babe. That was crappy. Dang. I've been with you almost half a century. You'd think I'd know you perfectly by now. And I really, really missed on that. I hate that. So much guilt. A little bit of shame, too. I feel like I wasn't the best version of me in that. She will fall into me, and I haven't apologized. I don't care. You can throw an I'm sorry in there. They're free. It doesn't cost you anything. But if you're counting on the apology to connect you, it's probably not going to.
And think how different it is to say I'm sorry versus like I feel a lot of shame and guilt that created that experience for you, whether or not it was even a wrong thing.
Absolutely.
Just like that you went through that because of what I said or did.
Yeah.
Because like that's a very different. That's like it takes even more vulnerability.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Because people connect through that core emotion.
That you've already kind of experienced that with your husband. That for him, it's not a connector. And you know, most of us were brought up. I mean, even as kids, you go tell your sister you're sorry, and it's like that's the end goal. I'm sorry, and that should take the hurt away. That should take the pain away. That should take the sad away for the other. And it often doesn't at all. And, you know, as a parent, it's almost like you think your work is done. You know, I got them to tell each other they were sorry. And then, of course, sometimes they're sent to their rooms, you know, whatever, to think about it. But when you get them vulnerable and you slow them down and go, okay, what happened, guys? So you give each a turn, and you know we're kind of going out of order to some degree because the core emotion wheel is our greatest tool. It has changed our lives, our grandchildren's, our children. Like it is an incredible tool to find yourself, and then to also use it with finding each other. But we did a whole podcast on apologies, saying I'm sorry, because we realized, wow, that really for us was never, I will say this, never a connector. And I could not understand that. For me, I was real quick to say, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
My fault. I'm sorry. Because I wanted to get
Mm.
on with it. I wanted to get past the wounding. I wanted to hurry it all up, which of course Glenn felt that, right? He she's not really hearing me. She's not really sitting in my experience, my pain. She's slapping an I'm sorry on there. And now she's done and she wants to move on. But I'm sitting here bleeding out. And I was never like, there's no room for you to bleed out. I just put a Band-Aid on it called I'm sorry. And I want us to get back to what we needed to get done.
Wow.
And you know, that, so for us, that was a huge one to realize this is not connecting us. And then when we started, you know, just using these tools with our children and our grandchildren, and it's kind of what you just said, it's that vulnerability to actually get kids to really hear each other and to hear how the other person felt hurt. And then for you to say, I feel a lot of guilt that I called you stupid. That vulnerability often with teenagers, any age kid, brings tears because they're really connecting with the guilt and the shame. The shame that.
But that helps us because now we can actually process it and not just be like, what guilt, what shame? I apologized.
Right. Yeah. And I'm sorry is not a core emotion. So it doesn't even connect us to ourselves. But boy, guilt is a core emotion. Shame's a core emotion. So to get to that, it really feels different in your body. And it calls that out. You know, we know now that it fires when you say, I feel guilt about hurting you, that the guilt region of the other person's brain also lights up, which makes it so connecting. And again, it's, you know, those are the little things, but when you start seeing radical changes in your family life quickly, you're like, what in the world is happening? And, you know, the core emotion wheel, it is the tool that we want to do before we run out of time for sure. But, and because I think there's a lot of work out there on emotions. And I think in the US, in the American US language, there's over 3,000 emotion words. And you may have sat down with someone, a therapist, who brings out, sometimes there are pillows, there's sheets, and it's like you look at it and you're just like, I don't know. It's so much, right?
We were shown a laminated sheet of like these emotion wheels, and they're kind of fun and pretty where they're like split up into subcategories of like all these different words. My husband, like, I'll be super frank, we've been going through just trying to figure out how, like, he has a harder time with self-knowledge. I will say this, and like Enneagram 9-esque, if anyone's familiar with that. And we've been trying for years for him to be able to share his emotions. And he was shown this wheel and he's like, which one do I pick? Like, I don't know what the heck? And so he was so relieved and he was like, this makes so much sense. He knows what he's feeling. He doesn't feel dumb. Like, it's crazy. Literally, you guys, like, as a testimonial, the first evening where you guys present the core emotion wheel in your seminar, and then you're like, you're going to do it now. I was freaked out. I was like, this is potentially going to crash and burn. He's never been able to, like, this quickly just go through and tell me his emotions. I'd be like, so how are you feeling? And he just, like, blank stare. Talk about still face, y'all. We are not going to get into still face today, but very powerful. But literally doing the core emotion wheel, you're like, these are the ones that actually, like, when you look at the research, and Glenn, I'd love for you to present this, but you guys basically looked at the brain. You said there's 5 regions of the brain that light up. There's basically 5 core emotions. You took 2 regions and you split them up into kind of subcategories that, I guess, for a variety of reasons you guys believe are appropriate splitting ups, not unnecessary, just proliferation of emotions. And then you have now, and that's what makes your core wheel. It's like literally just anatomy almost. Like, it's brain scans and observation. Can you tell us what's on the core emotion wheel so we can get rid of all those 600 or 1,000 or whatever we've got lying around?
Well, and the 5 regions are anger, fear, disgust, pleasure, and pain. We divide pain up just because it looks different on a brain scan into hurt, sad, and lonely. And you think about it, hurt feels different than lonely, but they're still just firing in the pain region of the brain. The brain doesn't distinguish physical pain from emotional pain. And then disgust, first of all, people don't really use that if I said to Allison, I feel disgust about you, we might have trouble if I said that to her. But and we also just saw a difference in, not on the brain scan, but in external manifestation. Guilt's typically over in action. You see the facial expression, the body language. Shame's over my essence. I feel bad about me. So that's how we came up with the 8. Again, we didn't just draw them out of a hat randomly. It was very research based that we came up with those. And the amazing thing is, this is true for every human on the planet. Every human on the planet knows what fear is, knows what pain is. If you walk into a room and say to somebody, well, I feel stressed. Well, they know what the word means, but that means something different to them than it means to you. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows that's why they're called core emotions, because this is the core. Stressed, overwhelmed, upset, bothered. I mean, all these other emotion words, many of them are result words. Mm-hmm. Stressed is a result of unprocessed emotion. And somebody says stressed, we want to go backwards and find out, well, what's happening for you? So again, and I don't know your audience that well, but I just want your audience to know this isn't just some random thing we thought up around a campfire one weekend. This is all based on the human condition. It's very, very scientific, very, very research backed. And it's true for your audience member named Joe. And Joe may go, well, that doesn't apply to me. That applies to those.
I only feel annoyance.
Yeah. And
my father says he feels frustration and satisfaction.
Yeah. Yeah. And I want to find out what's firing in his brain in those moments for him to get to that core. I'd love to meet your dad someday and talk to him about that. Because again, he's just a human. He's not breathing ice cream. He's like, I decided to breathe ice cream instead of oxygen because I just like ice cream better than oxygen. Well, you don't get that choice. Sorry, buddy. You don't get that option. It's just human. We do function the way we function.
Well, it's interesting that there's words that we actually use that just replaces the core emotion, and it's kind of that. I love the idea that we all breathe oxygen. We can't choose, we can't opt out, we can't change that formula. Our bodies need oxygen. So brain scans show that these emotions fire in our brains. That's why I love the science behind it. It's so concrete. And often we get questions like, well, do these fire every day? It's like, well, yeah, of course. Like your brain is working all day long. So your emotional brain is firing constantly. We're just unaware. And for someone to say, well, I only experience 2, satisfaction and dissatisfaction. Well, that's not scientific, and it's kind of it's just simple. It's simple. It's going, okay. Just like me, all my years, I was in my 50s before I understood the science and that I can't opt out. I can't just choose joy. And it was like, that's not how the brain works. And you have all of these emotions. And so I first probably was very angry about why did no one teach me this, both in school and in church? Like, what? And then just then I got super curious. Like, okay, there was a point to this. And if you're faith-based, if you believe that God created us, then I'm like, okay, God, what was your point? What is the purpose? And we kind of understand it's messengers and it's to protect us. And so I want to tune in. I've been missing this my whole life. It's a message center. If you've ever seen the movie Inside Out, brilliant. Pixar actually did their research.
All of like the people I went to the conference with, we were like, so is Inside Out, do they have the right emotions? And we were like, anger, disgust, joy, sadness, fear. We're like, yes, they did it.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's really amazing that they did their work. So, but I know we're going to run out of time. We want to just show you this simple tool. Because for many of us, if you're like me, you don't even know where to start. And this may be completely like, oh my word, I didn't know there was a simple tool for one thing. And I also don't know how to tune into myself. I don't know how to find myself. I don't know how to feel that. Right. And so, and then or you may be more like Glenn, where you feel all day long, big feels like so much comes at you and you're like, how can I simplify this?
Yeah.
And that's the power of this tool. We say you each get 2 minutes, and there's just 8 emotions that you are finding within your body, most recent or the last time or big time, because you may not be able to even find something recent because you're not aware of what's happening every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how about, could we have maybe just one of you do it and then I do it?
Yeah.
That's great.
Oh my word, that's amazing.
Yeah, we just want to mention the ooh. My response to her is just going to be an ooh. The ooh is a label. It's just something audible. I'm not going to be silent. I'm just going to ooh my friend.
All right, you want me to do it?
Sure.
Okay. I would say tons of joy that we are going downtown this afternoon and having a night out. A lot of joy about that. I would say, I think I felt sad yesterday that so much was coming at me and I couldn't get it all done. So sad there. Hurt today early, did my workout and my hip was bothering me. So some physical hurt today. Lonely. I think I just realized the Christmas card. I'm feeling lonely, just that unsupported. That feels really lonely to get all of that work done for the Christmas card. Fear. Oh my word. I think the fear is kind of just, I feel like the holidays are flying by. And so there's fear in all that I want to do. And can I do it all? Guilt. Probably my guilt and shame is just how easy it is to get so busy that I lose you and that I'm filling up the calendar, and I think you feel that, like just you're looking at the calendar going, this is impossible. So I feel guilt that I quickly do that and shame that I set aside us and you in even a month like this. My anger, I think I've experienced anger around secrecy, like secrecy in relationships. Just tell me. I just want to know. Like, I want people in my life to tell me. I don't want secrecy. Like, I know sometimes it's like, well, it's going to be really hard for you to hear. I still want to know. I want to know. I don't like the secrecy in relationships.
Wow.
That's me.
Thank you. Amazing.
Thanks, Phyllis.
Yeah.
All right. Without further ado, I didn't time you. I meant to, but I was listening. But I'm sure, guys, I mean, I hope you guys all listen, notes. That wasn't long. That wasn't crazy. And I tend to be on the more verbose side. So if mine's about the same length, there's hope for you. All right. So I felt a lot of joy knowing that this recording was coming up. And literally once we're done with this, we're going to jump into the recording for me on your podcast. I love you guys. I love the work you're doing. I feel like it's such a jewel and a gem. I could go into this for a long time. I'm very joyful to be here. I felt, some fear, that I do this well. And that I put a lot of pressure on myself as a host to ask good questions and be engaged, and also know that we only have so much time. So just a little bit of fear there. I felt sad. I didn't finish a bunch of I have some work that I thought was going to be done by noon today that is not done. So I feel sad and probably some fear as well, because I'm using the word anxiety, but I think there's just some fear, how's that going to impact things? Hurt. I've had some conversations with my husband lately where there was some hurt, and so communicated that. Lonely. This probably actually hits me. I've never thought about this. This probably hits me a couple times a week. I can feel lonely in the work that I do, because even though there's a lot of people who are doing gut health or whatever, I feel like the only reason I do what I do is because I feel like so many people are not hitting the mark. And so there's not really good information being put out there. And I feel like I'm just shouting. I can sometimes feel like I'm shouting in a sea of there's so many other people shouting that I'm like, how the heck am I supposed to get this message out? I know you guys feel also passionate about your own message, so you probably extra get that. And then I just have guilt and shame. Probably also around my husband. just like of the things that we're working through, the things that drove us to go to the connection codes so passionately was just like, oh my gosh, what's my role in the things that we're like working through? And yeah, just being like, I should have tried harder. There can be a lot of like, and I think there's some false paradigms, but I still do feel them. You know, I'm still having like, ugh, like if I only worked a little harder, we wouldn't be dealing with this or something. So some guilt and shame around that.
Wow, thank you.
That's amazing.
I love it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You know what I love about doing the wheel is it reveals so much. You know so much more about each other, you know, with just doing the wheel. And it's incredible to us. It's like, just save the time and go right for it. And I think you started off this podcast sharing just about, even with your husband, sometimes you're just trying to connect and you're like, well, what do we talk about? And when you
Yes, a long day happens and I'll look at my husband and we're like, we both want to connect, but like, where do we start? Or like, maybe we're both really tired already, or like, how long do we have? And we're just like, wheel. That's it. Hey, we'll be like, hey, hun, do you want to do the wheel? Be like, yes, I do.
yeah.
Or like sometimes they'll be like, no, actually I don't, but I'm sure we need it.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so good. And it's so good for yourself. Like, that's the beauty that I love to see, even doing it with friends, is when you're doing it and they all of a sudden find themselves and they're like, oh, didn't even know that was in there. Oh my word. I am feeling really sad about that. And then it comes out and they're like, oh, whew, thank you for holding space for me. And it's like, wow, I love that. I love knowing that about you. And the ooh is so powerful and beautiful. Like, you're not to interrupt and you're also not here to fix.
I was going to say, you guys didn't try to fix how I was feeling. And you even caught me wanting to fix it, but I was simply externally processing like I have that impulse. And I'm like, nope, I'm not succumbing to it.
Yeah.
I have 2 questions for you guys.
Okay.
And I'm curious what your answers are, because I feel like maybe you've said this before, but these are the 2 questions that I was like, we haven't talked about that I really would be curious. Number 1, based on the science, how long does it take to process an emotion?
Well,
what does that mean?
Well,
when we're
there's mixed, and you know, humans are very complex people. There's 8 billion of us on the planet. Every human's unique. We're bad lab rats because we keep leaving the laboratory. So I understand that human behavior research is sketchy because, you know, maybe we just picked those 10 people to research and they're different than these other 10 people. We don't know. But, so anyway, I have to give that caveat. But for many years, the research said it takes 90 seconds to process an emotion. Well, what we have observed is that when we're co-regulating, and Dr. Jim Cohn did a ton of research on this, that co-regulation uses up about 80% less glucose than self-regulation. So when Phyllis and I process an emotion together, and again, in our private practice, we've observed this many hundreds, if not thousands of times, is that we get it down to about 20 seconds. The actual number ends up about 19 seconds, which is stunning to me to think that we're 19 seconds from changing the world. Because if we can get Allison and her partner to process things in 19 seconds, they can dance. And most people, because please understand, we were the poster kids for the 3-week conflict. It would take us 3 weeks to argue, fight, fuss, bicker, et cetera, and we never really even got it settled. It's just like we just got exhausted and finally was like, and by then I had 3 other conflicts started, you know, so we probably spent entire calendar years disconnected relationally. And we've always cared about each other. It's not that we wanted to leave each other. We just didn't know how to be close relationally. So anyway, the research, just from our observations, are that we can get this down to about 20 seconds. Phyllis and I spent over 5 weeks in Europe. We never one time had a miss that lasted more than 30 seconds. That blows my mind. Because again, you're looking at the dude that 3 weeks was standard. And I don't know the math on that. 30 seconds times X equals 3 weeks. That's a big number. So we were losing life. And now we're saving that life. And we're not perfect. We haven't arrived by any means. We're just pilgrims on the journey. But we've gotten pretty darn good with these tools. And when we use the tools, we connect. When we don't, we don't. We're just like everybody else. We don't get a free pass because we wrote a book about it. I feel like we should, but we don't get any free passes. We're just humans. And when we use these tools, it blows my mind that we can literally do that. And to this day, sorry, I get so excited about this because I'm so mesmerized. To this day, Phyllis and I look at each other literally after 30 seconds of processing something, and we're like, what? We did that? I thought that would be about 2.5 weeks worth of conflict. And we literally processed it through and we're connected in 30 seconds. Blows my mind.
And for our listeners to know, you guys give like 4 key things to do, like either during or after someone has shared. And I do think that those are key. It's not just like there's sharing and then there's knowing how to receive it or knowing. And so we're not able to get into the full framework. I think it's reasonable in an hour not to expect that. But hopefully we've kind of whet people's palate and they kind of know what they're getting themselves into. You guys have coaches that people can work with. You guys have a book, which I actually still haven't read, but you guys have seminars. You have so many tools. I will say I'm going to link them in our show notes. And you also have the core emotion wheel people can download. I highly recommend downloading it, printing it, like taping it onto your fridge or onto your computer desktop or by your laundry basket or, places to your face. And then we do have a discount code that you gave. And I actually don't know, is it for just the book or is it for like lots of services here?
The masterclass.
The masterclass.
Yeah. We have different
awesome
on our website. Yeah.
Yes. We have a code BELLY20 to get a 20% discount on that. And there will be a link in our show notes for that. But that was a quick little plug. The last question that I wanted to ask, because I am I'm a big symptom watcher. That's probably one of my biggest skills is like, tell me about your symptoms. And that's like free data for me. So I'm so curious, what are signs that someone has processed an emotion fully and what are signs they have not processed it fully?
Well, I can give you a very long, boring research answer, or I can try to do a short one. You can kind of just feel it, which is not great. If something is still bothering me with Phyllis, I just come back to her and I say, oh, that pain, that hurt is stuck. It's still happening. She does the same 3 phrases. She goes, oh, so what's happening with the hurt? Which I just told her 8 minutes ago, but I need to process it more. And so again, I don't have any great quantifiable answer to that.
Unease, some level of pain or discomfort.
Yeah, you can kind of just feel it when it's still there.
Maybe you keep thinking about it or something, kind of keep coming back to it.
Yeah. That's a really great question. The way I would answer it is that it's personalized. For me, if we are not, or if it's with someone else, if it's stuck in my body, it's going to affect my sleep. And so then if I wake up in the middle of the night and I can't go back to sleep, I don't wake him up. I start doing the core emotion wheel right there in bed. And I just start going because I can find it. I want to get it out of my body. And I do all 8 emotions. And then I often find this is about that conversation earlier with that friend. Then I do what's called an issue specific wheel about that one conversation. And so I do all 8 emotions around that one conversation. And in that, I can almost feel it's like my body's knotted, and then it just releases. So I do think it's individual. You may go, oh, I always feel it in the pit of my stomach, or I get my chest really tightens, or it's my hip. I feel it in my hip when I'm like really mad about something. It's the emotion that gets stuck in your body. So you have to ask yourself, where do you feel that first? And then to realize, oh yeah, I haven't been able to take a deep breath all day because I'm so angry. And then to slow yourself down, because we sometimes go right to one and we put it under anger and we don't slow ourselves down to go, okay, what's before the anger, and then you realize, oh, there's tons of hurt. Oh, and I feel so much shame because of the way it was handled. And oh my word, I feel super lonely because I don't think I can talk to anybody. So then
And you can ooh yourself. Yeah. You can be like,
Yeah.
ooh,
Wow.
oh yeah, that really hurts.
you ooh yourself,
Yep.
and you're able to
Yep.
go, oh, I've really missed it with myself. And then you're releasing it as you talk it through. Yeah.
And I feel like we could have a whole other podcast episode, and maybe we will, on this, but just that, and but I do think it's becoming more mainstream that people are aware that emotions can get stuck in our body. They can fuel disease. It's very well documented how it can fuel disease. And that the other thing that's interesting for me is I feel like I'm looking, when you guys teach this, that you said that physical hurt is in the same place of the brain as emotional hurt, which some people will be shocked that the emotional side is there. But then it says, well, what if someone's in physical chronic pain? Then how is that like adding to their total emotional load, other than even the fact that people have emotions about being sick, that it's like adding to this burden. And so then they want to, we have this innate desire when we're not feeling well, like physically, to share it with somebody and get like we just want someone to know, like, I have a migraine right now. And maybe they're going to offer some medicine, and maybe they're like, oh my gosh, that sucks. I didn't know. And I miss that, to use one of your guys's, that's one of your guys's phrases. Yeah. And so what's interesting is our clients can miss that because they either like, well, I'm in pain all the time. Why am I going to mention it? Or like they get people who say, well, mold illness isn't a real thing, or like mold's everywhere. They try to use all these phrases because for whatever reason, they just don't know that maybe a better response is just being like, I can even suspend belief if for a moment I don't understand why they're sick or what they're feeling. Just be like, like men understanding when a woman's like, I got cramps. They'd be like, no man is going to know what that feels like. Right. But they can be like, they can ooh. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that is so missing from our community of like as a society of people. And then even as the sick individual to know we can offer that to ourselves. We can ask for it. We can, now that you guys have this, that's a tool someone can take and teach to their spouse or their kids and just say, hey, when I'm having a lot of blank fatigue or brain fog or whatever, you might not be able to fix it, but like this could help me. And that I might have to do it multiple times a day, and it's not wrong. You didn't do it bad the first time. It's just like, I need to keep processing this because it hasn't stopped. Right. And I feel like that I ended up finding that I give a lot of practical tips to my clients on how to stop the symptom, which is enormously helpful. But also I'm like, oh my gosh, I 100% sometimes just am oohing my clients. And then they are like, oh my gosh, you're the first person who's just validated. Like, because doctors aren't validating. Doctors say your labs are normal. That is the equivalent of saying, I'm sorry, or I didn't mean it that way. Like, right. So it's just like, like what you're teaching maps on so perfectly to my client experience, but for the chronically ill.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. The message that people get so often, and all of us hear unspoken words, words that Allison didn't say to me, but I heard it. It was a very clear message. She never said it, but I heard it. But what the message that so many people receive so often when they're experiencing whatever they're experiencing, some struggle, is you're wrong to feel what you feel and you're stupid. And so Allison comes to me and says, Dr. Glenn, I felt hurt by what you said earlier. And I'm like, what? Oh, you didn't need to feel hurt by that. I didn't mean anything bad by that. I'm just being funny. I'm such a funny guy. I'm just being funny, Allison. And what I just said to Allison was, you're wrong to feel hurt and you're stupid. And that did not help Allison at all.
I do not feel better.
I'm like, oh, Allison, no, don't feel hurt. So I'm actually not wanting her to feel hurt, but I actually made the hurt worse. In the process of trying to lessen the hurt, I intensified it.
Well, Dr. Glenn, Phyllis, thank you so much for coming on to the Better Belly podcast. I know we could keep talking, and I hope that people simply just desire to hear more from you guys, whether it's on your podcast, which we'll have linked, or your book, or maybe, a seminar like I did, or your master class. You have so many beautiful resources, and thank you just for dedicating yourselves to this and following where the Lord was guiding you, even though you had so many reasons to say, well, that's not my area of skill, or I'm not that person. You guys really took up the mantle, and so you're blessing generations. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having us. It means the world.
Hey friend, I hope you loved this episode. If you've been a fan for a while or newly loving this podcast, can you do me a favor? drop into Apple Podcasts and leave me a review. When you leave a review, you do so much. You help me know you're listening. You can tell me what you're loving so I know what to make more of. And you help others by boosting this podcast so other people like you can find the podcast too. I mean, it's a win-win-win, right? So if you want a way to pay it forward, just go to Apple Podcasts or click the link in my show notes and leave a rating and review. And if you want some more free stuff, just head over to my free Facebook group, betterbellytherapies.com/Facebook, and you can get access to all of my free support for you, including some Facebook group exclusive stuff like my podcast episode vault, where you can search the Better Belly podcast by topic and find exactly what you need to expedite your healing. I cannot wait to see you in there. Catch you guys next week.